Wow, now that's how you make a fucking horror movie. The Witch. Hey guys, welcome to Priceless B Movies. I'm your host, Colin Price, and yesterday I had the pleasure of going to the theater and seeing a new horror movie that's out that a lot of people are talking about. There's a lot of buzz around this movie, kind of like how last year there was a lot of buzz about It Follows, and the year before that there was a lot of buzz about The Babadook. These movies that a lot of critics and mainstream audiences are saying, wow, this is like the scariest movie of all time. You know, there's one every year, like even before The Babadook, it was like The Conjuring. You know, there's like the staple movie of the year that everyone thinks is going to be the be and end all of horror. And this and The Babadook, I think, are the two movies that I can safely say, yeah, this is worth talking about. The Witch stars Anya Taylor-Joy as this young girl who lives with her very puritanical family. This movie takes place in the 1600s in New England, so, you know, everyone kind of speaks like they're reading straight out of the Bible all the time. Everything is kind of like, oh, you doth this, and this be thine, and yada yada. First of all, I'm going to tell you right now that if you cannot translate that kind of dialogue, some of this will go over your head. Some of it went over my head, honestly. Some of it went over my girlfriend's head when we saw it. It does take a little bit to get into how people speak in this movie, but it is authentic to the time, so you got to give credit where it's due. Anyways, I was saying, this young girl and her family are kind of kicked out of the settlement that they live in because their dad is just overly preachy. He's basically like the evangelical in the settlement. Like even the priests are going, you take this shit far too seriously. We don't want you here. So they end up leaving the settlement and starting a farm out in the middle of the woods. And, shit goes down. Their crops start dying. One of the children disappears. Like the family just enters this hell, and they just start breaking down from all this horrible stuff that is happening to them out in these woods that may or may not be because of a witch. Now that the plot's out of the way, I'm just going to flat out say this. This movie scared me. Like, there aren't a lot of movies that scare me, like, that really make me feel as I'm watching them, like, uneasy or disturbed or on edge. Like, this movie scared me. The Babadook scared me. It Follows, I thought, was overrated. Like, I understand why a lot of people like it, but I just didn't really care for it. And The Conjuring, well, everyone watching my channel knows how I feel about that overblown piece of shit. But The Witch was legitimately scary. Now, here, I really have to explain something, because the more I've read about this movie before I saw it, and especially today after having seen it, reading reviews from people, not just critics, but just everyday people who would post on IMDb and stuff like that, I realize that this movie is pretty divisive. A lot of people love this movie, and a lot of people hate this movie. And I can also say that I've noted the people who hate it also seem to be people that don't know very much about film. I think that there's this misconception that this movie is like insidious or sinister, and it's, action from the get-go, and shit's jumping out at you every 5 minutes. No, this isn't that kind of movie. This isn't like a mainstream popcorn horror movie that you take a date to, when you haven't known her that long. This is a really creepy, under-your-skin, slow-burn movie. What really amazed me about The Witch is that what's scary about it isn't so much the supernatural stuff. I'm not gonna lie to you. Yes, there is a witch. This isn't the Blair Witch Project, where it's like, oh, there may be a witch out in these woods. There is a witch in this movie. I'm not even spoiling anything by telling you that, because they show her at the end of the trailer. But the shit that the witch does, the things that she does to mess with this family, the witch is not the focus of the film. The title's kind of misleading there. The witch is not the focus of this film. The focus of the film is really the family, and it's really how they kind of fall apart. You have this extremely religious group of people, and they're all about, we love God and we renounce sin and all that, but you can kind of sense that they've never really been tested in any way. Their faith has never really been tested. And once this stuff starts happening to them, they break down pretty quickly. This movie is only like 85 minutes long. They break down pretty quickly. And I think that this kind of speaks to something that's really disturbing to religious groups and Christians in general. How strong is your faith? You can say all you want how strong your faith is, but it's only when you're tested that you actually show how strong your faith is. And when you see this family in this movie start to unwind, that was disturbing to me. That was more disturbing to me than any of the creepy stuff out in the woods. The actors are fantastic here. Even the couple of actors who really don't have much to do are really good. And just about everyone in the family is fantastic. Like, I couldn't find a single line delivered by anyone in this movie that I didn't buy completely. And that's really rare, especially in a horror movie. And especially in a horror movie where, like I said, all the actors are speaking in this weird-ass dialect. I couldn't talk like that for more than 5 minutes without busting up laughing, and I would never be able to recover and start again. The fact that they have this dialogue and they deliver with such conviction really speaks to how great these actors are. Oh my god, and the direction of this film. It's directed by a man named Robert Eggers. I've never heard of him, but I swear to God, keep an eye out because you'll be seeing more of this man. And I really hope we see more of him in the horror genre. This is a guy who really understands that true horror does not come from a cat jumping out of a cupboard or from blood hitting a door. Personally, I think James Wan could learn a lot from this guy. The music, too, which is mostly strings, very high strings, very unnerving sounds. You know, just everything about this movie works, and it's like the perfect equation. I don't know how else to describe the film without giving away a lot of things that I really shouldn't. This movie is kind of the culmination of what a horror movie should be. Now, that being said, there are a lot of people who will watch this movie and hate it. They'll hate the slow sections of the film. They'll hate that it's tough to follow some of the dialogue a lot of the time. They'll hate that this is not an in-your-face horror movie like the trailers and all the advertisements kind of make it look like it is. And I understand that. I understand if you think that the advertisement and everything is misleading for this film, so when you see it, you're expecting something and then you're mad because you don't get what you're expecting. I get it. I've had that problem with movies before. But when you go see The Witch, just try to keep an open mind and also try to understand that this, at least in my mind, is a true horror film. You don't need a guy in a hockey mask with a machete to be scary. You don't need a lot of slamming doors out of nowhere for no reason to be scary. Those are not scares. Those are gimmicks. Those are cliches. This is a true horror film that doesn't need any of that mainstream bullshit to be scary. The Witch gets 3.5 stars. The only reason it's not getting 4 is because, like I said, this will divide people. But I don't even know if I'd really say that that's the movie's fault. I think that people just need to start waking up and realizing that, you know, a real horror movie doesn't have to be a list of tropes. A real horror movie can be something primal and can be something disturbing and can be something thought-provoking. This is a wonderful example of that kind of film. That's my review of The Witch. Stay tuned, I got a lot more reviews coming. Also, and as always, if there's a movie you can think of that's either overlooked or underappreciated by mainstream critics or audiences or both, and you'd like to know what I think of it, let me know in the comment section below and I'll see what I can do about getting a copy of that movie and putting up a review for you. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more Priceless B movies.